And before we get right into the video itself, I am curious, like, how many times has he been arrested?
A bunch.
I was trying to think about it while I was showering, and I was like, there was the time when he got arrested by Andrew Scheer's PC party, and when he was like hit by their campaign bus, but what was likely just being bumped by the campaign bus. The other time I could think of is when he was stalking Ron McLean. Thank you, Nick Braceray. He was stalking Ron McLean, which is the sound drop. When you follow our channel and it does the, are you kidding me? That's when he was stalking Ron McLean and got arrested. I know there was a time when he was arrested for harassing Patrick Brown, who was used to be the leader of the Progressive Conservatives in Ontario, but is now the mayor of Brampton.
Brampton, I think, yeah.
And he was arrested then because I guess this was closer to the beginning of the pandemic, and I guess Patrick Brown was using one of the local ice rinks to practice skating when everyone else was locked down, and so David Menzies was running in there, and he got arrested for that. So that's 3. He was arrested in Montreal with the whole gang. Because they had a boat and were defying COVID restrictions, and then he bit through the tape. He might have been arrested at some point harassing one of the homeless encampments, especially the protest out in front of City Hall. I think he was arrested then, but he might not have been. I can't remember off the top of my head. And then he was arrested. Oh, he got ticketed in Peterborough. I mean, that's the other thing. He's probably got a ton of tickets as well. They're not like directly arrests, but definitely ticketed. And that was because in Peterborough, he was smiling, not distancing, not wearing a mask, shaking hands, all that fun stuff. And we've also caught him several times breaking the law, although not being arrested. So there was the time when he illegally trespassed in a quarry. There was the time when he illegally filed a complaint against Murdoch Mysteries for laughing on set.
Admission against said, I'm surprised he didn't get arrested for murdering Chris Sky on air.
To be fair, like,
that's great.
I had, if anything, David Menzies was much better in that interaction with Chris Sky than Ezra was when he came back on later. Because Ezra was trying to play the whole, well, he's probably not racist, but, he probably just said some silly things on Twitter. But David at least, was pretty forthright in trying to ask him some hard-hitting questions, which I was not expecting. That has been the only time on this entire show where I'm like, okay, David, all right. You get this one.
He did some journalism.
Yeah. I mean, the only criticism I might have is the one thing that he showed Chris Sky to show that he was anti-Semitic was not as bad as some of the other stuff that Tony provided for us, which were also Facebook posts, but were, in my opinion, way worse than what David Menzies was suggesting was anti-Semitic. Like, we had the one Facebook post that's it was like Chris Sky was sharing some video claiming that the Goyim would be the slave of the Jew or something like this, which is way worse.
Yep,
way worse.
That's bad.
So now we get to today. So what this is this is in Thornhill. So for anyone in Thornhill, Ontario, whoop, whoop. Apparently there was a new candidate for the Conservative Party of Canada that was nominated. And David Menzies was arrested, as he's titled the video here. It says, Thornhill CPC candidate Melissa Lanceman has David Menzies arrested for asking prickly questions. So we'll see if that title is accurate to what happens, but I already have to say, not good. It's not accurate, sorry. Wouldn't it be hilarious if you proved that they got their screenshots from me? Can you prove that? I mean, part of me was like, it looked it looked kind of like the same screenshots that we had, but like, did they actually get it from you, Tony? Because that's amazing. I mean, Levant tried to whitewash Mark Lemire's history, including leadership at the Heritage Front. Why not go back? I mean, yeah, why not go back on Chris Sakosha as well? I mean, the thing is, too, I mean, he does it. One of my favorite moments on the podcast recently was when Ezra says that the human rights trials, one of the tribunals or whatever they're called, one of the very first cases was done by a 70-year-old man who just happened to have a racist answering machine. That's what he says. And he sort of frames it as in a sympathetic light, like this poor old man who's harassed by the government. And when we looked into it, it turned out that the dude was a literal Nazi. Like, and what I mean by that is he was sanctioned within Canada for being affiliated with the actual Nazi party in the 1940s. And Ezra just sort of like doesn't mention that on his show. All he mentions is that it's this poor old man, this poor 70-year-old man who just had this racist answering machine. And it turns out that the racist answering machine was a white power phone line that I think was a part of the same group that was, he co-funded a group with Paul Frum. Paul Frum then, I guess, donated to Derek Sloan, and that's why Derek Sloan is not part of the Conservative Party anymore. Like, these people are all connected, and Ezra likes to play defense for them and try to say that, oh, they're not Nazis, and yet they all seem to have connections with Nazis. Tony says, I don't recall whether they actually showed them during the video. They did show one, and it was a Facebook clip. It wasn't like an article. It was just a image of the screen cap from Facebook. Menzies may have just read the text. Interesting. I mean...
No, I think that they showed a number of Facebook comment ones.
I think it was just one. I think he just showed one. But maybe when this is done, we can go back and check that. Somewhere there's got to be an alt-right Canadian bucket list, and arrested for harassing Ron McLean is the final tier. Oh my god. Well, I guess we'll just get into it. I will say as well, before we get into this, there's like some minor homophobia here. You can get worse in your homophobia. This is more of the diversity higher range of the homophobia, but there will be some homophobia in this.
And in the Department of Perverse Irony, folks, check out the tweet Mr. O'Toole issued around the same time I was being stuffed into a police cruiser based on lies from the Lanceman camp.
Oh, being stuffed.
Quote,
so,
if you don't support...
so rough on him.
Yeah, they were just, I guess this is the bumper. We'll skip ahead a bit. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, he's always treated with kid gloves. He's got 2 replacement hips. We know that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
For those who don't know, when he was arrested in Montreal, the cops were handling him a bit rough, and we, ACAB, not great that police will handle anyone roughly, but you can hear David Menzies be like, I have 2 replacement hips, try to be gentle with me. Yeah.
In politics, they call summer the silly season. Hardly anything of substance seems to happen, and the politicians are typically in their ridings having barbecues and whatnot. And such was the case.
Yeah, like, I've never heard it be called the silly season before. But I almost want it, like, this is the one thing where I'm like, I could call it the silly season.
I'm literally, you can keep this going. I'm literally going to look up when that was ever used, and I'm guessing it was like in 1965.
Yes, it was John Tyler Ross was the person with the answering machine. Yep. And became the leader of the Western Guard, which used to be the Edmund Burke Society, co-founded by Paul Frum. Yeah. We talked, I was speaking off the cuff here, but we did go into a bit more detail on the podcast itself. And hello, gnarly dude.
On Sunday in Thornhill, Ontario, just north of Toronto, the outgoing Conservative MP, Peter Kent, was having his summer shindig on the parking lot of the Promenade Mall. I dropped by not so much for Mr. Kent, but to interview his replacement in the federal riding of Thornhill, Melissa Lanceman. Now, I assume most people don't know who Melissa Lanceman is, but they should. She was Doug Ford's War Room Director in 2018 and helped create slogans like For the People and Ontario Open for Business. Alas, we all discovered that when the COVID pandemic hit last year, the Doug Ford PCs were not really for the people, and Ontario was very much closed for business. Oh, not all.
I will say here, like, this is always like weird to me that, like, I don't disagree with David here. Like, I'm pretty sure any conservative, especially one who worked in the Ford administration, is probably a terrible human being, right?
Yep, that's not a stretch.
So I'm not too there's nothing too objectionable yet. But of course he's gonna take it in a direction where I wouldn't take it. But yeah, I mean, all this open for business shit through Doug Ford was a bunch of bullshit. This was him capitulating to a lot of the construction unions and stuff like this, which was bad. I mean, LIUNA, which is the big construction worker union, actually supported Doug Ford, and a lot of other unions started backing away from LIUNA, and there was like infighting and shit like this.
Real quick, Jody, just so that we're all on the same page with regards to the silly season.
Okay.
In the United Kingdom and in some other places, the silly season this is Wikipedia, I should say. So, Wikipedia. The silly season is the period lasting for a few summer months, typified by the emergence of frivolous news stories in the media. It is known in many languages as the cucumber time.
What?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And the term is first attested in 1861. So our boy Menzies is still coming up with those, like...
So it's an old-timey reference. Yes.
150-year-old reference, yeah.
So the rebel is alien.
These are the cucumber times.
Tony says the rebel is alienating their more crackpot followers, but they're also alienating the Ford conservatives. I really don't understand their strategy these days. I don't either. Like right now, I don't know if they're in this like weird in between phase where they haven't made up their mind, or if it's something to do with like donors. I wonder if they have big donors in the PPC or something, and the PPC was trying to distance themselves from Chris Sky, and like, but they're in this weird place that I can't predict where it's heading. Weird.
All businesses, mind you, if you were a US-based multi-billion-dollar conglomerate such as Costco or Walmart, it was business as usual. Actually, business was never better thanks to the government forcing ma and pa operations to shut down, thereby eliminating the competition for these big box behemoths. Oh, speaking of Walmart, by 2020, Landsman had resumed duties as a lobbyist, and she lobbied mightily for the Arkansas-based superstore chain. Landsman went to Premier Ford, and she successfully...
I notice here, too, he's using an NDP fucking, like... opposition research thing, you know what I mean? Isn't this weird?
Rebel is gonna start doing entryism into the NDP to make them more racist.
Canada is my favorite American state after England. Weird.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, it is interesting. Like, they really are. I feel like they're going into their bitter phase with the Conservative Party. Like, since 2017, they were still trying to get in their good graces, and I feel like they've given up on that and are now like, we hate you. But there are moments of like, we can't quit you though.
Fully ensured Walmart would be exempt from any lockdown rules. Oh, not just for essentials, mind you, but for non-essential items too. So Walmart could sell floral bouquets, but if little Susie the florist did the same
little
thing,
Susie the florist.
well, she'd be heavily fined. She'd have her locks changed, and she might even be jailed. Hey, just ask Adam Skelly of Adamson's Barbecue. So now...
Yeah, who was also pictured with Paul Frum and all that fun stuff. So Adam Skelly is a wonderful human being too. But notice, like, I like two cars in here with the Tax Megacorps too, right? And yeah, I would love for Rebel to actually sort of like put forward or postulate some sort of policy initiative that would deal with the fact that, I don't know, isn't it weird that Walmart had a place of precedent against other people? Isn't that something that we should be concerned about? But we don't get any of that from them, right? It's just like their criticism of corporations is always sort of like either they're like capitulating to like wokeism and all that fun stuff, or it's like we just don't like them because it's hurting the small business owners. But there's no actual like practical policy that they ever recommend.
Rebel is going to team up with the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses in the same way that like the NDP was the CCF combined with the Canadian Labour Congress, and they're going to make their own like batshit reactionary small business party.
Couldn't they just work with the Chamber of Congress? I mean, that's pretty much the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, but I feel like the CFIB is like the worst version and is specifically like small business, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Now that Landsman is the Conservative Party candidate for Thornhill in 2021, I wanted to ask her a simple question. How can she possibly run to be the MP to represent the people of Thornhill when she was personally responsible for engineering a lockdown policy that caused so many businesses to fold and so many people to be thrown out of work? I mean, her nickname is actually Lockdown Landsman. How do you recover from that? Well, here's
I don't recall. I mean, this is the first time I've ever heard of Landsman specifically, but Lockdown Landsman, like again with the nicknames, like who was calling her that?
More just neck brace Rick saying, Landsman, where's my whiskey bottle? I bought 3.
Yeah. Oh, that video was recently posted up on YouTube too, if anyone wanted to check that out. Vieno, I sent you a message on this.
Yeah, I checked it.
how that Q&A went down.
So Melissa, I gotta ask you, how can you run to represent the riding of Thornhill when you were somewhat responsible for so many businesses going under and so many people losing their jobs as a paid lobbyist for Walmart? You made sure your client stayed open at the expense of other businesses, and now you're running for the people? How do you square that?
So I want to pause here and say, if this was where this was going, like right now you get the image of like legitimate journalism. Like I would actually say here, David Menzies is doing if this is what David Menzies is 90% of the time, it would be much better. Now it will, of course, I mean, we know the ending already. Spoiler alert. He gets arrested. So you know it's going to escalate. But simply asking this question is actually pretty good. It's a pretty good idea. Okay? The other weird thing to note here is this weird device that he's using, which is not his standard microphone, which says Rebel News on it. And I wonder if that was done purposefully for, again, I think if he had any Rebel signifiers, he might have been like kicked out of this way ahead of time. But at least he got to pose the question, right?
I've actually been quite clear on that. The mandate for Walmart was entirely on vaccines, and that's all available information, and you can seek that information.
What do you mean the mandate for Walmart was vaccines?
That was our mandate. I didn't speak about it at the time because they were still in active climate, but we allowed Walmart to get into the vaccine pipeline.
No, Melissa, you were in the war room of Doug Ford in 2018. Phrases like Ontario open for business and for the people. And then you were instrumental in shutting down businesses, putting them out of business, putting people out of a job, so that this multi-billion-dollar corporation based in the U.S.
All right, Vieno.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
could remain open, not only selling essentials, but non-essentials. Why could Walmart sell flowers, but Jane's Flowers couldn't sell flowers?
I'm sure that's a question for the Ontario government on why they made that decision. But again, I told you our mandate was on vaccine procurement. Thanks very much.
I I don't like her answers either. Like, I don't love every question he asked either. But if this was all we got, okay. Okay, that wasn't too bad, was it? Menzies' mics looks like a breathalyzer. Just
So the audio on that was so bad.
It was really bad. It almost sounded like it wasn't coming from his device. It might have been coming from the person filming it. So it's like, again, talking about the new device. It's probably like a new technology. Like he doesn't even know how to use it, you know? But like, I didn't think that exchange was terrible. Out of all of Menzies' exchanges, not bad. Not great, but not bad.
Did that look like a convincing answer to you? Hard to believe this woman is a professional communicator, given how tongue-tied she got when it came to answering hard questions. But then I wanted to know how she became the representative for the Thornhill riding in the first place. You see, folks, a few months ago, Ontario PC MPP Gila Martow was vying for this position. Martow is a veteran politician who is well-liked and well-respected. I think she would have been a slam dunk contender to win the riding in the next federal election. And according to the Martow camp, exit polls at the nomination contest indicated she had a whopping 70% of the vote. So when Lanceman was declared the winner, it was a shock to everyone, including Melissa Lanceman, who did not even have a victory speech prepared. So
voting irregularities. We need to get the NATO countries to invade the CPC. The election was not legitimate.
God.
Menzies is judgmental about people getting tongue-tied because he is able to consciously funnel all of his anxiety into becoming a human tomato when he feels the same. Yep. I mean, the other thing is he will
America,
never be
please blow up the
tongue-tied.
CN Tower.
He will never be tongue-tied because he just likes to bloviate. He's a bloviator. What did you say, Vieta?
Oh, I said, America, please come liberate us by blowing up the CN Tower.
But it's not Canada. I mean, the CPC doesn't run the CN Tower. What's a good wherever the CPC building is? I'm sure they have an office somewhere in Ottawa, probably. But it's like this. So you notice where he's going with this. It's now like some weird conspiracy that exit polls showed that the person who was running against Lanceman was ahead according to these exit polls. I didn't even know they did exit polls for a riding vote. We've never. I mean, London, Ontario's NDP. I don't recall us doing polls before votes like this. Like, it would even surprise. I mean, Thornhill maybe bigger population, but I can't imagine that they would do polls like that. That sounds super weird to me. Super weird to me.
Isn't Thornhill like Toronto or like GTA?
Northern Toronto. Let me
Maybe it's just like that big population-wise or something that like it's worth doing it versus London, which is 3 ridings.
Population is 100,000. 112,000.
Okay. So like less than our ridings.
Yeah, and they don't have. Well, I mean, yes, the riding population as a whole is less than ours, but then so you got to think, like, did they bring conservatives out? I mean, it's Thornhill. They had a conservative in before, so maybe they had the institution in place. Like, but even then, like, I don't even know that they do exit polls. It's super weird.
Yeah.
But somehow there's like a conspiracy where they would choose Lanceman over this more likely to win candidate or something. There's a conspiracy theory. Now, what could it be? What could it be?
Either those exit polls were mightily flawed, or this was a screw job of Herculean proportions. So I reached out to members of the Martow camp, and none of them wanted to come on camera or even be named.
So why would they?
Yet, why would the Conservative Party go with a candidate, Lanceman, who has more baggage than the arrivals terminal at Pearson International Airport? And the answer was this.
Got him.
It had everything to do with Melissa Lanceman's
Ladies and
sexual...
gentlemen.
Yeah.
We got him.
Yeah. Like all these jokes, old-timey phrases, jokes, like he never ends. He never ends. But this is what the punchline.
Everything to do with Melissa Lantsman's sexual orientation. You see, the Aaron O'Toole conservatives are obsessed with the party being a so-called big tent operation. You know, it's not just a bunch of old white guys anymore. They're sick of the CBC calling them names, and what better way to prove that they are new and improved than to promote an LGBTQ candidate representing the Conservatives in the suburbs. Wow, look at all that diversity.
All those letters?
Yeah. Every single one. Every last letter in LGBTQ+, she represents.
Honestly, good on her in that case. That's pretty impressive. Might not agree with her politics or whatever, but like if she got all those letters, like damn.
Like I'm all for representation within the Conservative Party. Cool. But part of me still goes, look at the reaction of the Conservatives. Look at the reaction of the Conservatives. Like they don't want you to belong there. You know what I mean? Like it's just like why? Why would you do this? They're not going to like you. Look at them. They're stuck in what, the 1930s? They're not going to like you.
I mean, she's a like white woman who is in like banking or whatever, right? So it's kind of like she knows where her interests lie, even if there are some aspects that like are more fraught.
It's just frustrating. I mean, especially like leaning in on the identity stuff, because like if anything, you're looking at the base here, or a portion of the Conservative base within Canada is going to reject it. So it's like maybe it would appeal to Thornhill Conservatives. I don't know. I guess we're going to find out come the next election, which I think is happening sooner rather than later.
Now, folks, I personally do not give a rodent's rectum if a candidate is a lesbian or a Martian. I only care about the gray matter. I only care about their ideas, their policies. That's the bottom line. Yet we live in a day and age of identity politics.
Like, I only care about their policies and what they think. That's why I'm going to focus the rest of this. The first half, we talked about policy, and I grilled them. And now we're going to talk about identity for the last half of the video, because it's the left that cares about, and this part of the Conservative Party that cares about identity politics. But I care so little about it, I'm going to dedicate the rest of my time in this video to it and get arrested over it, because I'm David Menzies. Yeah, the rodent's rectum was the first genuine laugh at a David Menzies pun. So I do have to hand it to him. That was pretty good.
Also, Dan, did you find out if CN still like maintains the CN Tower? Because I never made that connection before. That's super fucked up.
You didn't know that?
No, it's just like not something that I ever thought of. I was always just like, oh yeah, it's the Canadian National Tower, you know? Like,
yeah,
it's our tower. It's Canada's tower.
Paid for by the Company of Canada.
Okay, they commissioned construction.
I think it's irrelevant, but Lantsman and the Conservatives can't stop talking about her gayness. It was their main selling point. They have fully bought into identity politics. Here's a Toronto Star story from May 23rd, noting how Lantsman is, quote, young, GTA raised, and unafraid to speak critically about the Conservatives. Melissa Lantsman is the party's candidate in Thornhill for the next federal election. She could also become the second openly gay Tory to take a seat in the House of Commons. And
I mean, when he played this clip, he framed it as like, look, the Conservative Party can't stop talking about it. But this is an article in the Toronto Star reflecting on like a fact about the party, which is that she would be the second openly gay Tory to take a seat in the House of Commons. Like, that says to me that it's the liberal press that is focusing on it, not like the Conservative Party.
end quote. And then there is Melissa writing of her sexual orientation in her own words in an op-ed piece in the Globe and Mail back in
God forbid somebody speak about their own experiences. How dare they?
2019 entitled "The Conservatives Can't Be Stuck in the Past on LGBTQ Rights." And here is one of her own tweets regarding her sexual orientation from last October. Quote, "Coming out as a conservative was much harder than telling anyone I was gay. Cheers."
I hate those tweets. But yes, lots of
This
gay
is all
conservatives
just
are
so rough.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, the other article, at least I could say, is like, yes, if you're gay, you're going to speak to your experience within the Conservative Party. And if you think the Conservative Party needs to change their position on gay rights, do that activism. Like, I don't see that as a bad thing. But this kind of stuff, this says to me that she realized in her 2019 piece that that's not going to work. She has to somehow calm the white fragility and make it to be like, no, you see, even though I'm gay, you still like me, but all those liberals are now mad at me because I'm a conservative.
I mean, to be very clear, not white fragility, it's straight fragility because, you know, she is also white. Like,
Yes. Well, yeah, okay, my bad. I mean, the Conservative
Yeah.
Party is also white, so it's let's be real here. The fragility is intersectional, all right?
yeah, there we go.
Cheers to being yourself, end quote. Okay, fair enough. But is the Conservative Party now fully invested in identity politics and playing the race card and the gender card and the sexual orientation card? What about who is the best person for the job, no matter what? So I asked Melissa, is she the candidate for Thornhill based on merit or based on her sexual orientation?
Why is
I'm
it
glad
you
you're
were
supporting
chosen?
our event here.
Were you chosen based on merit or based on sexual orientation?
So, yes, terrible question to ask. Notice as well that this is a different time. So when the last time that they had the thing, the audio was bad and she walked away from it. So now he's like being aggressive and approaching more forcefully, and then asks her a really awkward question. And I could see by the look on this person's face here, you can barely see it because of the writing here. Maybe I'll lift it for a second. She's like, oh my God, I can't believe this question was asked. This is
I mean, all of the people's faces there are like, ooh, wow.
yeah. And I think part of it is she's probably used to this by now. Doesn't make it right, but she seems pretty calm in response to it. So.
The nomination is over and we won the nomination. So thanks.
And that was that. I had more questions about Walmart, but then I was interrupted by the police. How much did you get paid by Walmart? How much did you get paid by Walmart?
That's not a
The
question.
Lansman campaign called the cops on me. But
So the campaign apparently then called the cops on him. Now, can you see why they would?
No, I think though he was being totally reasonable.
Which is why it's like I framed it at the beginning. Like, what he did earlier was reasonable. The reason why they get, like, attacked by the police and stuff is because you cross a line at some point where you're like, I'm not simply going to ask this question. I'm going to berate you and shove my mic in your face even when you tell me to go away. And at that point, it becomes harassment. It's no longer journalism. You are now harassing people, David Menzies.
How much did Walmart pay you? Are you responsible for them not? The LCBO took one of my whiskeys.
Yeah.
Is that your fault? You need to help me.
Can you find
You
my
need to.
whiskey?
If we.
It's actually a bottle of scotch. I need to be really specific about the type of whiskey that was taken from me.
This is your fault, isn't it?
I'm still waiting for my winnings on that lottery ticket. I forgot about that story too. I don't know if we had a follow-up on that yet, but he was supposed to call the manager. He must have got his money back, so.
there is no crime of asking prickly questions, so they lied to the police, making accusations.
Did you see that? This
And
is
she
the first
dumped
time-
water on him?
Yeah, no. We always talk about why is it that David Menzies does not get punched in the face. And I have to say, the one thing I love about this is that I don't have to worry about like exposing people that like Antifa did something bad. Here's the conservatives themselves throwing water at David Menzies.
asking prickly questions, so they lied to the police, making accusations that
fucking
I assaulted people.
And she did it right in front of the police. Like, they're right there. I love
That's
it.
so good.
And she's probably not going to get in trouble for it.
Questions,
It's amazing, and I love
so
it.
they lied to the police, making accusations that I
Like, they're clearly eyeballing David and ignoring the woman who just threw water on him. So, pretty down for that. Yeah, like conservatives threw water at Menzies.
assaulted people. It was actually the other way around, folks. They were purposely bumping
David
into me
Menzies
and
looked
trying
at
to
them.
block me. They knocked my hat off. They threw water on me. And for what? Asking questions?
How would someone who's bankrupt, why would they vote for you?
You gotta come with me.
Normal
Why is that?
behavior.
You gotta come with me. You're under arrest for assault, sir.
I'm under arrest for
You're under arrest for
assault?
assault. Put your hands behind your back, sir.
How am I under arrest? Who did I
Sir,
assault?
Put your hands behind your back.
They've been assaulting
Okay,
me.
we'll figure this out. Put your hands behind your back. You're under arrest for assault at this time.
Who did I assault?
Well, you assaulted the staff members here.
Who?
Just the utter shot. I
Oh my
love that he's like
God.
still recording. He's like, I still gotta record this. But yeah, I mean, like yeah, like what did you think was gonna happen, David? I mean, they pretty much do this to get a rise out of people, to get arrested. But it's like, what did you think was gonna happen? Shades of Jimmy Dore spitting on us. The Jimmy Dore one was harsh. I don't know if any of you have seen that, but it was I feel like it was at the DNC for Hillary Clinton before the election where she lost to Donald Trump. And at some point, Alex Jones tried to like storm the set of the Young Turks. And Jimmy Dore, who was working for the Young Turks at that time, spat in Alex Jones's mouth. Just,
Oh fuck.
no, it's pretty gross. Pretty gross. And now Jimmy Dore is terrible, so I don't care. Oh, fuck.
So I'm letting you, sir, I'm letting you know you're under
not.
arrest for assault, okay? I'm asking you to put your hands
They
behind
were
your back.
assaulting me.
Okay.
They were pushing
Again,
me.
look
They
at
were
how generous
jabbing
they
me.
are.
Stop a bit, okay?
How am I under arrest for assault?
Yeah.
Sir, right now it's under investigation.
How?
All right? I'm placing you under arrest for assault.
How about this woman here? She's been assaulting me numerous
If
times.
that's the case, I will
Right there.
investigate that. I would investigate that as well.
Okay, so who has made this
So
accusation?
can we go over here and we'll talk about this?
Why is it?
I'm asking you.
Why am I under arrest for?
Like, again, I have to say, they get treated with kid gloves every single time. Every single time. Just arrest him. Treat him like you treat every other person that we know you aggressively.
Yeah, throw him to the ground. He can kiss some concrete.
He could get another 3 or 4 hits.
Assault.
Is you assaulted the employees here.
Who?
right.
What did I do? I did nothing.
You apparently
did nothing.
punched somebody.
I didn't push or punch anyone.
Okay, we'll investigate that.
Yeah.
And how about this slice of unethical behavior? When I was being arrested and handcuffed by police, one of them stole my clipboard and notes, and then, look at that, takes photos of my notes. What's the deal with that? What kind of political party has a reporter arrested and then steals their notebook and takes pictures of
Put
it?
your hand behind your back.
This is.
I fucking love this. I know who this person
It's
is.
amazing that they.
Go for
It's
it.
just amazing that they played all of this on their own account
Yeah.
as a like, oh, this makes me look good.
I just this is the person who dragged Menzies away as well. And I just love the casualness of, oh, he dropped his clipboard. Pick up, snap. And look, he doesn't just take or they don't just take one picture. Look at them take many, many pictures. Look at this.
This is what we get in Canada. Look at this.
And then
Look at this thug
flips the
manhandling
page to
me.
get
And what
more.
was I accused of? Just asking questions.
Dog.
The assaults were on my
Flips the
body.
page.
People running in front of me. And I'm the one that he wants to handcuff? What is this? You think Justin Trudeau's media party is bad? These are the guys that want to form the next government. It's unbelievable. What kind of egregious thing is it? Hey.
Yeah, let him. Give him the mic. Put your hand behind your back.
This is a disgrace.
It looked
I want whoever that person is working for Lanceman, I want them to release the photos they took of his clipboard. That would be amazing.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, what did they edit out? I mean, they they didn't need to edit out much. I mean, he looks like an asshole the whole time. Like, I don't know, but like, it is amazing to me how like their audience is very sympathetic to this, even though it's like clear to us that he's being an asshole, but somehow they're like, oh, poor David Menzies just being attacked here. Let's not forget, though, the officer is a POC. That likely figures into their eagerness to get rough with an angry middle-aged white guy. That's true. That is true. Very true.
See, I was thinking more like that's why David's calling the cop a thug. Like, I'm sure they could use a different word, or would use a different word with a white officer.
Well, what did he do to the one police officer in Montreal? Called her a diversity hire and said she looked like Celine Dion.
Yeah. God.
Didn't one of the clipboard photos come out?
Did one of the clipboard?
That's awesome.
Yeah. Can you send it to us?
Yeah.
Is it in the Discord?
I can't see it, but Melissa Lanceman released a statement. Maybe we'll check that out when we're done watching, which is pretty funny.
Awful on them, especially having me arrested. So after 10 hours, they decided to.
Okay, that's the statement that I just saw there. But did you see David Menzies giving the thumb down while on the back?
After 10 hours.
Aw, boo-hoo.
What a clown.
They decided to revise history. They say I engaged in homophobic slurs against Lanceman. What? I did not. You saw my question, and you saw her answer to it. It wasn't homophobic. Did not.
Anyway.
You saw.
Today at Peter Kent's annual summer celebration, I answered various questions from a number of outlets, including from David Menzies. When Mr. Menzies' line of questioning became homophobic and related to my sexual orientation. So notice how he said that they said he used homophobic slurs. That's not what it says here. It says that when Mr. Menzies' line of questioning became homophobic, and it did because it implied that she did not earn the election result, that she was selected simply because of her sexual orientation, which is homophobic. I have to say. Afterward, I spoke to some constituents, but ultimately left the event because I felt unsafe. Thankfully, no one was hurt today. I'm very confident that any investigation will demonstrate that I acted appropriately and with the utmost respect. I have not engaged with the authorities, nor did I call them. Melissa Lanceman. Interesting. All right. LeBron got some tweets here. This video posted by Conservative MP Peter Kent appears to show a blurry shot of David Menzies' clipboard taken by a CPC staffer. Rebel Media's prescripted questions for Melissa Lanceman explicitly focuses on her sexual orientation and something about being a lesbian candidate. Are we all in this together? Are you the Conservative candidate for Thornhill? Merit or your sexual orientation? So that is the one question he did ask. But yeah, so I mean, pretty much the one question they clipped out was the one that he kind of asked anyway. So interesting. I am curious if this person like sent it directly to Luke or if Luke got it from someone else. The real David.
On my question, and you saw her answer to it. It wasn't homophobic, and she obviously didn't think it was at the time until later when her spin doctors needed a way to change the subject from having me arrested, throwing things at me, and stealing my notes. Could you imagine a real leader such as Donald Trump saying no comment or even running away? Can you imagine?
Yes, in fact, he did say no comment and ran away several times. I'm pretty sure that existed. I'm pretty sure that has happened several times to Donald Trump.
Imagine a politician of substance calling the cops to have a reporter criminally charged. And that's what Lockdown Lanceman did on Sunday. She or her minions called the cops. She later issued a press release saying it was a safety issue. A safety issue? Yeah, my safety. I was pushed, shoved, splashed with a liquid.
Oh, I love it. Like, he just keeps playing this over and over again. You got splashed with water, David, after you were harassing people. What more do you want? I mean, that's the thing, is like, they like to pretend that harassment is not a crime, but harassment's a crime, David. It really is. Just because you didn't, like, bludgeon someone with a stick or be aggressive with them in terms of, like, physically assaulting them. If you shove a microphone in their face repeatedly after they tell you no, that's harassment. That is not allowed. You are a bad human being. Trump has walked out on many interviews when he didn't like the questions. He has done that for decades. Yeah. No, I know there was like several throughout his presidency where he stormed out of the interview. The more famous one was on 60 Minutes, right? Where he just like took out the mic and like walked out of the room. We got another. Rebel Media reported arrested at event with Melissa. Oh, so Kent was the one who posted it. Great to see Thornhillers at my annual summer celebration Sunday. Regret pandemic precautions breached by rude, crude, bully, pseudo-journo, physically harassing CPC candidate Melissa Landsman with hateful questions like this.
Mr. Kent, one question.
Oh, this is why the audio is so bad.
Melissa here based on merit or sexual orientation? After. Is this Mr. Kent?
So he even asked the previous candidate who's like resigning whether or not her candidacy was due to her sexual orientation. What a lovely guy. He was just asking everyone at that venue. I'm gonna ask every single person there to what extent her candidacy was due to her sexual orientation. Jesus Christ.
And arrested. And in the Department of Perverse Irony, folks, check out the tweet Mr. O'Toole issued around the same time I was being stuffed into a police cruiser based on lies from the Landsman camp. Quote, if you don't support free speech, you have 4 parties to choose from. If you do, you only have one, Canada's Conservatives, end quote. So sorry, Mr. O'Toole. So sorry, lockdown Landsman. Actions speak louder than words. And just like Andrew Scheer, you are already blowing this election big time.
I love this like conflation with them being arrested for harassing people with cancel culture. It's like, it's not cancel culture if you do something illegal, is it? Is that the standard now? They arrest me for doing a crime. It's cancel culture.
How is Menzies not in jail yet?
Because we live in a white supremacist society.
Yeah.
Is it more simple than that?
How is he not in, like, how are jurisdictions not fighting over what jail he gets to go in? Like,
yes.
God.
We've caught him doing so many crimes. So much. Yeah, it would be nice. I can't wait for the final recording of David that we watch, which is his trial, where he's like sentenced to several years in prison. We never have to talk about him ever again.
I want to see the show trial of David Menzies.
The show trial of David Menzies?
Yeah.
Why would it be a show
like
trial?
The People's Tribunal.
He's actually committed the crimes. You don't need a show trial. It'll be a
yeah, but
trial.
I want it to be for entertainment, you know?
I think it'll still be entertaining no matter what happens.
Yeah, God.
All right.
The court sketcher at David Menzies.
All the hats and shit. I would,
Yeah.
if I was the court sketcher, I would just do different hats. Just like make up the hat. Like, I won't necessarily copy his hat. Just make up a whole ton of hats.
Hello, my rebels. Hello, my rebels. I'm a good boy. I'm a weirdo.